So a hand release through impact versus a body release through impact. What one's going to be more consistent for your game? One one's going to give you just better golf shots in general. So I'm Jonathan Chown with JChownGolf. Let's dive right into it. Now, this topic really divides golfers. You'll have some golfers definitely on team hand release and some golfers really on team body rotation release. And what we're going to do, we're going to really talk through each release pattern, talk about their traits and how that can really affect your golf swing. And then we'll say from there what we're going to do to get that into your golf swing of what we say is better. Now, let's talk about those two release patterns there. So, a hand release through the golf ball. Now, this was a release that was taught a lot in the early 2000s, late 90s, even in the 80s as well, where that trail hand quickly passes over that lead hand coming into the golf ball, where your toe is turning over fast through that golf ball. Now, that was the way to do it back then. That was the way your club had to travel going through impact. Now, a lot of that reason was because of what is a square club face back then is not square now. So, what used to be a square club face was toe up in your takeaway. So having that toe pointing dead straight up to the sky there. So when that was really the square club face where the grooves would point away from me, if I maintained that in my golf swing, even a little bit of a cup was quite a thing talked about back then as well. When I'm coming down in my downswing and I'm maintaining those angles, my club face is still open. So to square the club face up from here, I now have to release my hands hard. I really have to release them through there because there's no other way that my club face is going to get square coming into impact other than maybe a casting move coming in there. So this would be a lot of golfers out there who struggled with a slice would have been told to do this. I was actually told to do this back in the day from my old instructor too, but this was the common thing. Every instructor used to teach this move. Every time you'd see a ball go right, it will be get those hands releasing and turning over, and you would find that you might hit a couple that were straighter, but a lot of them were definitely not that straight, that's for certain. So we could see squaring up the club face with what used to be a square club face, because now, what is a square club face? It's matching your spine angle in your takeaway. So we can see where that toe is slightly angled down. You can see it's matching my spine angle here. And that club face, the grooves again, slightly pointing down as well. To where, let's say if I maintain that, have a better wrist angle, flatter left wrist through there. Now as I'm turning down in a downswing and I maintain that club face angle, now if I have that classic release, that ball's gonna go really far left. So what I'm gonna have to do from here is really turn that body hard through the golf ball, really have a good level of rotation through there. That makes the club face very, very passive through the golf ball. It doesn't have too much closure, so if your club face is nice and square, you're generally going to be hitting a decent dispersion of shot, all being your club path as well. So as we can see there, the two release type patterns in their role in club face control. One was very much reliant and was the club face control mechanism, flipping the hands, and the other one with a rotational body release was more the body reacting to a square club face in there, keeping it square going through there. But there's another trait to these, and that is swing path. One, how that club and curvature of the golf shot. So the old hand release, that used to be the way that you would create, or was thought you would create, a draw shot, really flipping those hands through there, because the old ball flight laws are completely opposite to what they are now. The old ball flight laws used to be the club face would dictate the curvature of the shot, and the swing path would create where the ball starts in its direction. So that's where you used to be taught a lot. I know a lot of you have had this golf lesson of where, again, you're struggling with that slice and it's just turn your hands over, get that toe turning over, flipping over through the impact, because that's what's going to create the curvature. Not at all. That is not what creates the curvature at all. What we know now is it's the absolute opposite. It's the club face dictates the start line, and the swing path, of course, dictates the amount of curvature you're going to have. So if you're reliant on having your hands control your actual curvature, whether it be flipping or holding off, that's going to be quite inconsistent because that's not what actually does the job. What we see with a more body release, obviously you're doing other moves to get your swing path into the correct spot you want to. So let's say someone who's struggling with their slice, getting that lower body to separate a little bit more in transition or more depth at the top of the backswing. And then really from there, our path is going to be nicely dictated from our body movement. And then, of course, with that square club face, if we continue to rotate with body rotation, that path is again going to be maintained quite nicely going through there. Because again, if someone's doing a flip release, let's say if they've gone all out of sequence upper body, or we could even say, let's say they have rotated their lower body in a good sequence. They've had the lower body going first, upper body is trailing. Now if they thought, right, I need to really flip release it, you're going to see coming through the ball. Now the path is going to be diverging outwards going through the ball. So it can, depending on how much you're trying to do this move, the flip release can change your club path in a negative way. It doesn't create the curvature, but it can ruin it. So let's talk about the speed these two and the distance that these two might generate in the downswing. So we know from a handsy release that can actually create a decent amount of speed going through the golf ball. That can really create a good speed because you can really whip those hands through there. You can really create a good whipping sensation. But yes, that can create a lot of speed. And a lot of guys hit the ball a long way doing that. But we know if we're flipping those hands, the club face will not be under that good of a control. It will be open just before impact, closed beforehand. If our timing's slightly off in a day, might hit the ball further, but we'll hit it all over the place as well. Which again, for a more passive release here, if I've got that club face nice and square coming through the ball, my path's good, I'm rotating nice and freely, I'm gonna be now, one, having a more passive club face, as we know, going through the golf ball. It's not gonna close down as much or be fairly open depending on our club face, but I'm gonna be using my body's rotation and the bigger muscles in my body to create more speed through the golf ball. Any athletic sport, we don't slow down at the moment that we need the speed and do something with our limbs like we used to do with golf. We continue to move through there. Again, athletic thing like throwing a ball. You're not gonna be throwing a ball like this. You're not gonna get here, be coiled up nicely and go. That's not gonna be throwing a ball very far, is it? You're gonna be grabbing that ball and you're gonna really throw that through with your body's rotation. Probably poor technique, yep, maybe, absolutely. Golf coach, not a throwing coach of any sort. But we could see there, if you want to create power, you're not going to use your extremities. You're not going to use your limbs. You are going to use your body's movement and your body's big muscles to go through that golf ball. Obviously, that's going to be different for golfers out there. That's not going to be the same for, you know, someone who's 20 or someone who's 80. They're not going to generate, you know, the exact same speed. Obviously, 20-year-old be faster, 8-year-old be slower. But you're going to be really having the best bang for buck out of your golf swing. So as you can tell there, I'm very much on one side of this. Being a modern golf coach, I don't think there's too many modern golf coaches now that are very, you know, hot on trying to get that flip release anymore. We're all about getting that body to rotate and being that be the driver of our release through there. Just look at the tour players out until now. 90% of them do this same release because of the massive benefits it has. So really from there, we know that some golfers can rotate more than others. We don't need to all be rotating massive Dustin Johnson amount of there to be able to get through the golf ball. I wouldn't say I necessarily rotate too great in the golf swing, but we can still get this good benefit from passive release. So even a little bit of rotation helped massively. So let's talk about a drill here that we can do. So this drill that will really teach you this passive release, and that is in that body movement in the release, and that is the drill I've done so often in my channel, and that is the preset rotation drill. So what we do, we preset the rotation at impact. So how we do that? Lower body rotating, upper body rotating, getting into a nice side bended position here with my bent right arm and weight 90% on my back leg. And all we do from here is swing up and through there. So it is a massively good drill if you want to have this more rotational move through the golf ball. Now from there, if our grip's good, we're not doing anything funny with our wrists coming off the ball, the club face will generally be quite square. So we know that's matching our spine angle doing this drill. So then we just got to turn that body through again. So rotating those hips as much as you can, rotating your chest as much as you can within comfort, getting your weight on 90% on that lead side bend here, swing up to a half swing, and then through again, springing back. So if you get those good reps in doing those drills, guys, you're going to really be able to have a much better body release through the golf ball. And really what you'll notice as well is you'll hit some shots doing that and it won't go that much shorter than your actual full normal yardage because you're using your body's rotation to power this shot through there. Your big muscles, you'll notice the ball will go pretty straight too. It will go really, really good. But I'm not saying by any means here that the hand release doesn't work. If your timing's on a day, you can absolutely play great golf with it. We see loads of good players doing it, not so much now, but we saw a lot of them, you know, back in that era, early 2000s, you know, 90s, 80s, we saw a lot of good golfers do that move. It is very timing orientated. You have to be extremely skillful as a golfer. Of course, top tour players doing something. They're the most skillful in the world at playing golf. So it can work. I just think for the masses of people, this wouldn't be the most optimal way of swinging a golf club if you want to be consistent. Since I got this part into my golf swing more, my golf became a hell of a lot more consistent, and night and day difference in consistency. So I really would urge a lot of you guys, even if you're on the fence, just give it a little bit of a practice. Understand it, have a little look into it. As obviously there is more to it than this video, absolutely. It's only a YouTube video, but we got to know as well, once you've got the real knowledge about it, and then really get in there and have a good practice in it and see how it goes for yourself too. So if you found this video helpful, make sure you hit that like button. And if you want more golf instruction just like this, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell button too to be notified every time I put out a video. So hand release versus body release. Hopefully now you know what one you want to do.